What is up, fanboys and fangirls? It's time. The Last of Us. I guess not part one. This is season one.
This is The Last of Us.
This is the last of us talking about The Last of Us.
Yes.
For a little while.
For a couple years.
A little while at least.
So Tyler plays Last of Us Part 2.
Well, you think
when I'm emotionally
Tyler will
prepared.
play that before I play part one?
Yes. 100%.
He's gonna play that before you even pick up control again.
Well, I have I've seen the show now, so I can, safely say that I understand the story in its entirety and completely. I don't even need to play the game. It's not a different experience at all, right?
I wouldn't go there. Personally.
Okay, that's fair. Well, yeah, so we are here tonight to talk about the season finale of The Last of Us. See, episode 8, Look for the Light. Is this 8 or 9? This is 8. 9?
Yeah, I think it's 9.
It is 9. I can never get these episode numbers
It's episode
right.
5.
It's episode 5-4. Look for the light.
Off to a hot start this fine evening.
Oh man,
March 13th.
But we'll also take some time to recap the whole season. We'll do a little season review as well. But fortunately, we have been talking about this. Pretty sure it's 5. Week to week, so we won't spend an exorbitant amount of time on this review. But what do you guys think of the season finale?
I thought it was really good. I liked it a lot.
I liked it a lot. Yes. I would agree with that. It's just, honestly, it's just so nice every week to see these moments live up to what I experienced when I played the game.
Yep.
I'm really sad it's over, though.
Yeah, I think there's a part of me, too, that I'm kind of there with you. Like, I'm pretty upset that I won't be watching it week to week. But much to probably Luke's happiness and I know Easton's happiness, it definitely moves up my timeline to play part 2. Because I think I'm in that headspace. So I'll probably be playing that here in the coming weeks. And I don't know that emotionally I'm ready for that.
Nice.
But this show does a good job of really capturing the tone of the game as well. So yeah, it's gonna suck not having this week to week now.
Yeah, it is. It's been really nice having a show that has not really missed.
Yeah.
Having something that's kind of consistently quality, like high quality TV, high quality writing, acting, the whole gambit. We finished that episode and I was kind of sitting there thinking about it. And I'm not sure if it's because it's the last one, and I'm like, I really want more, or if my initial thought was, I really wish there was one more episode, and not necessarily at the end of this, like past what we got, but something either one more before this, or like the first half of this, and then a little extra fluff. I'm calling it fluff because I don't know what it would be. And then some more fluff, and then the last half of this episode would be the final episode. I don't know, but that would be my only thought in terms of I wish there was a little more. And I think I can articulate some of that, but having not come from the game side of things, I think there was room for a little bit more of expanded storytelling. That said, this is already a super expensive show, and I can understand why they would want to keep it at 9 episodes versus 10 from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
But I really liked it. It was having kind of a vague idea of what's going to happen. I thought it was executed really well. I really like the intro. That was new, right? You guys want to talk about how that intro made you feel?
Yeah, with baby Ellie and
made me feel horrible. In all the right ways, though, right?
Is that because you're a father now? Because honestly,
and some other things.
I'm not a father, and I felt no. I'm just kidding.
No, I think so. It starts, and I was kind of like, "What is this? Like, what are we doing here? What's going on?" And then I recognized who it was, who the actress was, and I was like, "Oh, this is her role. That's cool." And then she starts having birth or whatever, and it's like, "Oh, well, that's a weird way to incorporate her," but I really liked it. And I think what got me is like they used real babies, and it's like, oh, it just made it like hit that much harder. Yeah, because you can always tell when a baby is fake. Right?
Yeah.
So like when they used the real baby, I was like, oh my gosh.
American Sniper.
I was like,
this is the most famous baby.
Yeah.
it just, I don't know, it made it hit really hard, and I was a mess from that point on. Watching it with you, like just before we came down here.
Yeah, so these guys.
I was glad I watched it last night and then didn't watch. Like, I'm glad this wasn't the first time I was watching it, because last night I was not doing well. That was a hard scene to watch, but I thought it was really good, and I think it's cool that it stems from a game that Neil was kind of shopping at one point, outside of Naughty Dog. Obviously, Naughty Dog would have produced it, but another studio would have made it, and I think it's cool that he. Throughout this show as a whole, he's gotten to execute some of the ideas that he left on the scrap table.
Yeah.
When they were making the game, which is why more things should do stuff like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice translating from games to TV or even movies. Well, specifically TV. Movies can do it, but they tend to not. Is that you have the opportunity to incorporate storytelling moments that you don't in a game, because a game is so mechanically heavy, right? Like, we're doing things. It's an interactive medium, and we're gonna give you cutscenes, yes, but then for the there's quite a bit of storytelling that happens, either just audio logs or it's in dialogue, kind of in the background while you're doing things, and you've already told that story. Now we get to, take the bones and dress it up in some new clothes.
Yeah.
And this is incredibly, similar from what you guys have been telling me. So it's really cool that they honor that, but also we're able to work in some new things that enhance the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's Ashley Johnson.
Yeah.
Who is the voice of Ellie. I thought she was awesome.
She was really good.
She was really good. A small role, but like still super impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also thought it was super funny how the first word she says in her role was an F-ball. She dropped so many in the game. She just drops it, just like, yeah, that makes sense.
I liked, kind of after that opening scene, well, I guess still in that opening scene, we get a little more Marlene. I wasn't sure she was ever coming back. So I know you guys, having played the game, knew that she was going to be around, but that was a nice little like, oh, okay, so this is not only, how Ellie becomes immune, but we're also setting up the stakes now with a new parental figure, even if, it may not have been as positive as something like Joel is to Ellie later on. This is how Ellie comes to be with the Fireflies, and then, she'll spend 17 years kind of
with Fedra.
Just
17.
14.
I don't know. Look. I don't know the age of people.
Well,
is Pedro Pascal 75 or 40? I don't know. He's beautiful either way.
It's 50s.
Isn't he like 53 or something like that? Yeah.
They both say their age in the show at some point.
But the Salt Lake stuff, kind of getting back to the current timeline, I like the Salt Lake City stuff. The giraffe moment was great. You guys hyped that up, and it was pretty special. I can see why you.
I think it hits a lot harder in the game though, because it's stretched out more. Like leading up to it is stretched out,
especially when you don't know it's coming.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
Like there's a reason it's my favorite moment in any video game ever. Like it's not expecting it. And then out of nowhere, I'm watching an extremely sad thing, and they're petting a giraffe, and I'm over here on my couch like weeping.
Yes.
It was just like such a beautiful moment. And then you get everything that takes place in Salt Lake City, and it's just an absolute emotional roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the giraffes, and yeah, they said in the chat, it's a real giraffe, which honestly I was a little nervous that they'd be like, you know what,
A bad CGI giraffe.
I don't think it'd be bad. It's just it's easier to act with a real giraffe. There is a sense of wonder with a giraffe
For sure.
because let's be honest, people, giraffes are pretty lit. You
They're
go to the
awesome.
zoo and you see them, you're just like, wow, they're really tall.
Yeah. Chuck Norris really did that. One of the terrible Chuck Norris jokes from my childhood.
Oh dear. And then we get, I think kind of the emotional core of this episode, which is Joel talking to Ellie about
Suicide.
Sarah and his attempt on his own life, understanding that that scar. He keeps saying like the guy missed.
Mm-hmm.
The guy was him in that dark place, and I think he, especially at the beginning of this episode, Ellie is very distant. She's gone through some trauma in the last this whole show, but
especially in the last one.
Especially in the last episode. And I think Joel senses that and, needs to not come clean, but offer her some reassurance that even if time doesn't heal all wounds, there are, people who you care about that make them fade.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Make
they
those
talk about
fade.
that in the after show. Like, the scars will fade. It's the people around you that. I like that little bit that Craig talked about there after the show.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's a hospital, man.
Yeah, the massacre of Salt Lake City.
I was looking at a Variety article. They shot that in a legitimate abandoned hospital, and I was telling Luke, I was like, I would have hated to be the location scout who was like, hey man, go check out that abandoned hospital. Just go in there and
have a little peek.
Hopefully nothing kills you. Like, that's pretty scary. But I thought it looked like the way they dressed it looked really nice. Very akin to the game, which was cool. Mm-hmm. But my favorite thing about that whole scene is just what they did with the score and sound as a whole, like kind of sapping the sound out of what's happening, using the score more to kind of drive the emotional part of that scene, as well as just using like little sound effects, so like the bullet casings hitting the ground, the gun popping, people maybe pleading, the knife popping. I just thought all that was so cool and so well done. Also thought Pedro Pascal was exceptional in this episode, playing the guy who's like trying to convince someone that everything's better.
Yeah.
While also like trying to convince himself that it's better. I just thought he captured that really, really well. And yeah, man, I am still sad it's over. For now.
Yeah, the whole like parking garage with Marlene and the drive away with Ellie. Just always such a really hard scene to watch.
Because you're torn, like internally, you're like, oh man, this is
because you get what Joel's doing, like like you see in the first episode, couldn't save his daughter, and he's not letting that happen again.
Right.
But at the same time, like he just murdered like 50 people. And lied to his daughter about it. Like, daughter.
Ellie.
New daughter.
Hashtag adopted daughter.
Yes. And it's just like, man, I
Which
get
is
what you're doing.
Daughter. Let me make that clear. Real daughter. Like, that works.
There's no paperwork at that point in the world. So.
Right. No, I think, for me, what I'm reading kind of in the chat here, and something Easton kind of talked about wanting, He wishes they had an extra 4 to 6 episodes. That's a lot of episodes, but
that's another season.
That I think that this could have used, overall in the season, maybe 2 more episodes. I think they could have used one, especially at some point. I don't know when. It would have had to be after 6, 6 or 7. But I think I needed. Maybe this is a fault of my own, but hear me out. I needed that trust thing with Ellie to be either tested or like he needed to have failed that once or succeeded in that to show that there is that's a really big deal to her. Because I get that at the end of this episode, but it wasn't real. I don't know. It didn't feel real as heavy to me as you guys seem to have reacted to it. So I don't know. That's I think one more episode, even just where they're kind of exploring that trust mechanic. Say mechanic, but because it is a storytelling mechanic, right? It's something between the two of them. They have been in survival mode this entire time. And I think the closest we get to it is in Jackson the first time when he lets her make a decision. And there's that because there's the very famous and fantastically acted scene in the bedroom, where he's saying he's done, and I think that's maybe the closest we get to this theme of she needs someone to trust. And for me, that felt, because of the post-apocalyptic nature of the show, I guess, to me it always felt a little more like it's survival mode. We do what we do. We do what we have to do. And less of like, oh, you're the first person I've actually been able to trust. Mm-hmm. That's me.
Yeah, I might disagree.
That's fine. That's fine.
Because I get that in the Jackson stuff, and I also get it when he comes back to help her in the diner.
Yeah.
Where David had her.
Yeah.
As like a sign that like, hey, you can make a decision, and then I'm like here for you now. Like, I'm not just gonna let you.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's to me where the trust is like solidified.
Okay.
And then it kind of just gets ripped away in the next episode.
Yeah.
Because he's afraid to lose her.
Yeah.
I also think you can just get into territory of filler.
Yeah. No, for sure. There's that danger.
And it's I know. I think JT has said he had pacing issues with it. I think you've. Oh yeah. Pacing right there. Easton. I think you've said it a couple times, mainly like with episode 5, in Kansas City, and I think if you draw it out more, you get a lot more of that. Mm-hmm. I thought they did a really good job of just kind of keeping it tight. Like, we don't need to do this 4 times.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied with it.
Good.
I don't really have any complaints.
Yeah. Obviously, Brett is wrong because he hasn't played the game. No.
My point of view comes from a place of not playing the game, so there's that added aspect to it where, again, I just have a different relationship with this material than you do.
But I do think, too, like, what you're saying is a completely valid thought, right? Like, I don't feel like I'm getting this thing where Luke feels like he is getting that thing, and so, like, it just kind of speaks to media scratches everybody's itches a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that both of you guys kind of are on the opposite side of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's me in the middle, both literally and
classic.
Yeah,
classic Tyler hanging out in the middle.
Yeah, no, I think part of what helps me with that struggle, and I think is because I have played the game, and I think there's some, maybe subconsciously I fill in some gaps from the game, without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
And so, just like some of the things that maybe, like I could see people having questions about, they don't even like cross my mind. I'm like,
Right.
oh yeah, that's actually a good question. I would have thought. I don't even think about it. So, and that's why I think it's interesting too, not having played the game. Okay, where like as a whole, I guess my question for you would be, as a whole, like, what did you think of the story as in its entirety? Like,
it's really good.
Do you understand why it's viewed as one of, if not the best, like story in video games?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think we got done watching it, and I think Luke had said something about being amazed that this wasn't made as a TV show first. And I guess what I'd say to that, you ready to block him?
No.
I'll be fine.
I'll let you guys fight.
Like, yeah, I absolutely think it's up there for one of the best video game movies ever. Or video game stories ever. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was like, I think it's the only one that's like up there as far as video game adaptations.
No, video game stories.
Okay.
In terms of what it's doing emotionally, mechanically, I can't speak to the game side of that. But what I would say is that this kind of story, this kind of storytelling. While this story in and of itself is unique in a lot of ways, I didn't think that it pushed boundaries in the world of TV and movies or novels.
I've said that before. About the game.
Yeah, okay.
So you're not wrong. It's
my guess is, in digesting it as a game first, it probably does have a much larger impact.
Yeah.
And that's why I can see why you guys and Easton were all like, you should play the game first.
Yeah. It's nothing revolutionary as a story.
Yeah.
It's just done so well.
Yeah. But it's the kind of story you don't see in games.
Yeah. And so like recently,
that's why it's really
like
cool.
Red Dead or
sure, there have been more studios that are kind of pushing in those directions, probably based on how well it was received, right?
They're like, oh, we can write good video games.
To kind of address like what JT's saying, being like the opposite of where I'm at. I get that totally. I think something I've gotten really good at doing is separating mediums, like in my mind.
Like I read about the book being better than the movie,
right? Like I read a lot of books that get turned into movies, and I think that's probably why like it's gotten so easy for me. Because like I'll read a book and they'll be like, "Oh, a movie's coming out in like 5 years." I'm like, it'll be nothing like what I read, and I just kind of go into it knowing that.
Yeah.
So the fact that this was so close is like, it's mind-boggling. It's like, oh my gosh, how do they do this? Like my favorite book is getting adapted and coming out probably later this year.
Are you very nervous about that?
Oh, so nervous, so nervous.
But he's helping on it too.
He is. He's the showrunner.
Yeah, kind of like with Druckmann.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, and maybe we see more opportunities like that arise now.
Mm-hmm.
If because Last of Us has, by all intents and purposes, knocked it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
And then if Dark Matter knocks it out of the park, maybe you see opportunities like that where game creators who are getting their game turned into a movie will get to lead it, or books will be led by their writers, to some extent. I hope that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
I just also want to keep emphasizing, please stop making video game movies. Just do a show.
Make shows.
Do a show.
Unless it's Halo.
Yes, Corey is involved with.
You know what?
the God of War
Let's
show.
wait 5 years and let's reboot.
Or let's just reboot. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yes, JT. Corey is involved with the God of War show.
Okay, I think
my favorite book series got a TV show. I wish it didn't. I'm curious what it was.
Yeah, Baruch. What is that? Through talking, and I know we want to wrap this up here fairly quickly, but I do want to come back to what I think of the last 2 episodes. I've thought myself into what I thought was either frustrating or I missed out of it. And it's the majority of the last 2 episodes, maybe not majority, half of the last 2 episodes, they're on solo adventures. I think that maybe that's it. Maybe I just wanted more but of them in the middle of that. I get why they have to have their own stuff, but that's where I think I need that half episode one more episode in the middle where they're back together and they're, oh, maybe everything is gonna be fine. Because we don't really have that everything is gonna be fine moment. We have we survived that shit, and then it's like, okay, now we're depressed.
Man, if The Last of Us 3 game ever comes out and there's a we're gonna be okay moment, I'm not believing.
Oh no, you never believe
not
it.
for a second.
But yeah, Easton over in the chat, as lover of the game, there are definitely things I wish were different, but all in all, was absolutely phenomenal and better than I thought it was going to be. So, right.
I think anybody who holds something like this in high esteem or high regard, you're going to be nervous when it's getting adapted. I think that's a completely normal thing to feel.
I was super nervous.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh yeah, Luke talked about it like weekly as it was approaching, how nervous he was. But like, I think there's just a huge collective sigh of relief that this did so well.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what did ease all of the tension for me though. A couple of weeks before Last of Us aired, I watched Chernobyl.
Yeah.
And I was just like, the show's gonna be pretty good. It's in pretty good hands.
So now that The Last of Us is over, if you haven't watched Chernobyl, go watch that.
Please watch Chernobyl.
That's me.
You've still got your HBO subscription. Go watch it. It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. Okay, final ratings. Yeah, where are you guys
Booyah.
landing?
Yeah, it's a booyah for me.
I'll give it a booyah. I've been the dissenter here for what it's worth, and I still give it a booyah.
We'll have to keep that theme going here shortly too. Huh?
Absolutely.
Always
Absolutely.
the dissenter. I love it.
Oh, all right.
Dang, I was just about to push that cancel button. Well, technically, if you cancel HBO, you still have it
for until the next billing cycle.
Unless like tomorrow is the
billing
cycle
date.
Date.
That's true.
So, okay, well, we'll take this opportunity to wrap up The Last of Us, and we need to talk about The Mandalorian.